Hello and welcome to today's episode of Health 360. Well, come closer, I'd like to ask you a very important question. How many electronic gadgets do you have stored in your drawer at home? I mean your chargers, your old phones, your cables. I'm sure you're smiling right now because you have a lot stored in your drawer, right? Today we'll be discussing the hidden dangers of electronic waste, popularly known as e-waste. I'm Blessing Oduni.
And I'm Solomon Ededo. Glad to have you here. When you think of e-waste, it's best you think of a time bomb, but this one on an environmental scale, ticking, waiting to go off. Data from e-waste watchers record that globally we generate close to 53.6 million metric tons of e-waste in 2019, and data shows that it is most likely going to increase to 74 million metric tons by 2030. And guess what? Only 17.6% of this is properly recycled. Can guess where the rest is going, right? Improper recycling processes and even dump sites that have not been certified for such use.
Well, that's quite alarming, and I'm sure a lot of you did not even know that electronic waste could lead to that. It could even lead to the statistics he reeled out recently. So it could be a whole lot. Imagine you have such electronic gadgets in your drawer, and then this happens in other households around. That's like amounting to millions of devices everywhere in the world, and then you don't even want to know how that this is going into a mass and becoming a terrible, like you said earlier, you said a time bomb waiting to. It could even lead to so much damage. And one thing about this e-waste is that they contain harmful chemicals such as lead and mercury. So these chemicals, imagine being exposed to these chemicals, and then low-key we stylishly ask ourselves that what are the causes of cancer, like different forms of cancer or carcinogens.
You're unable to answer them.
On our way to us, we even have we have them around us, littered around us, and we do not know that we're exposing ourselves to these things on a daily basis. So what then can we do? What you want to do is that you want to ensure that these gadgets, when not in use, they are properly recycled, or you could transfer them to an individual that you know that could properly recycle them. And if you are certain that you can properly recycle them or reuse them for better purpose without endangering yourself, fine, probably you're a scientist, but if you're not, please ensure that you take them through a properly certified recycling process. That's very
and also
important.
As individuals, like you asked, what can we do? You need to ensure that we advocate for policies, that we ensure that these things are properly recycled. We ensure for a safer environment by ensuring that there are certified places around where people can take these things to, and also people handling this e-waste, they are also properly protected. So we need to also come up with policies and also stand by those policies to ensure that individually we are playing our part, as well as we are expecting the government to also play their part.
That's very profound and very, very important. So we need to note that our health is intertwined with our environment. So every action on your environment, it takes a toll on your health. Exactly. Do well to stay safe by engaging in the safety practices you just reeled out, following the appropriate steps, and also ensuring that these electronic wastes are properly recycled. Like that's just, we would not want to lay so much emphasis on that, but that's very important because these chemicals, I said earlier, they could lead to neurological damage or respiratory issues that will now start leading to so many other complications. So do well to take proper care of your gadgets and do the needful.
And even for children too, they are actually very, very harmful. So as we wrap up today's episode, it is important that we all work together to ensure that these statistics on e-waste, this projection of what is going to reduce it drastically, reduce the number of toxins that we are disposing into the air, into the water, into the soil as a result of this waste, and that we work together to ensure that policies are in place to ensure our safety and the safety of our gadgets. So as we wrap up today's episode, we want to especially appreciate you for joining us, and also to tell you to make sure that you take care of your tech. and yourself.
That's very, very important. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of L360. I'm sure that you've learned a great deal about the hidden dangers of electronic waste and how to stay safe and stay healthy. I am Blessing Oduni.
And I am Solomon Ededo.
Until next time. Bye.